to the metal when I'm getting to the bag. Ay. Got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast. Ay. Let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss. Ay.
Hey guys, before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you know it is brought to you by the NMFTA. Let me ask you a question. Do you ship LTL freight? Then listen up, because the NMFC changes went live on July 19th, and they're the biggest updates in the history of freight classification. Now more than ever, accuracy matters. That's why carriers, shippers, and brokers alike are turning to Class IT Plus, the NMFTA's new digital platform for real-time NMFC data. Stop guessing, start classifying smarter, and quote freight with confidence. It's time to get your ship together because the NMFC changes are already here. Learn more at nmfcchanges.com and get started with Class IT Plus at classitplus.com. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. This is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Thursday, everybody. I got a couple of very special guests for you guys here today. We're going to be talking about something we're all very passionate about, and that's training and development. We work with the new Broker Success Program with the TIA, and we're going to be talking about that continuous development. So I got my man, Ben Kowalski and Nate Cross, back on the show to break it down. Fellas, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Good to be back with you, man.
Yeah, pleasure.
Dude, anytime the Bills Mafia gets on the show, I just had, gosh dang it, I'm drawing a blank. Hold on 2 seconds. Greg Finnerty on the show. I don't know if you're familiar.
I ran into him at a golf tournament over the summer. He's like, "Hey, Nate, you're Nate, right?" And he just knew me from Freight 360, and he's literally right here in my backyard in Buffalo. So got to chat with him for a few minutes. Yeah,
dude, I love having Greg on. He is the epitome of the Bills fan. It's everything. And I just told him, I'm like, dude, I just want to go to a game just to experience it, right? Because I've noticed it's kind of everybody's welcome there, right? Doesn't matter if you're an opposing fan. You guys just want to party and see the Bills win, and it doesn't matter who's there.
Yeah. And it can be a good team or bad team. And there's going to be some shit talking for sure. Yeah. But it's always a good time.
No, I love it. So, dude, what's going on out there? How is, because we're in the middle of the fourth group of new brokers that we've worked with this year. And, I always love, training and development to me it's like a passion, because I like seeing it click for people. Right. And we're actually in the process. We just had somebody start with us here this week, and, she's coming in for business development purposes and everything. And I love bringing that, crossing those hurdles of going from not understanding the industry and having all those questions to the actual deployment and seeing it kind of go out there. So what's it been like? What are you guys seeing out there from a training perspective? What are some of those things that you think people are still missing to this day?
Well, I'll tell you, the timing of this is great, because Ben and I just did a session yesterday with the current cohort, and this guy, one of the guys in the class, like right before we got on, he emailed us and was like, hey, just wanted to let you know, like I just dispatched my first truck to pick up my first shipment. And we had talked to him. I talked to him in between sessions and over the last couple of weeks, trying to kind of talk him through pricing and, different things he could do. But the big takeaway is we said it, Ben, yesterday, was like, so this can be done, right? Like if you follow the things that we teach, regardless of the type of market that we're in, you put in the effort and the reps, like the results will come. It just, there's a bit of randomness, right? And luck, I would say, but the persistence and putting in the activity in is what really helps. I will tell you, I think the people that have struggled, they're, a lot of the people we talk to, they're where they're at in their journey is like, they're like, I'm brand new, haven't done anything yet. Right. And we do like a prospecting or a lead gen session, and like you come back the next week and they still haven't done anything. So I think it's just taking action. Ben, I don't know what your perspective would be, but that's kind of what we see every time we do one of these courses.
I definitely agree. And it's funny because I always picture, there's a line. Do you remember this movie? It's probably like 10 years ago, War Dogs. Do you guys remember that movie? And
such a good
line
movie,
where they're both sitting at that, like a hot dog stand, and one of them's pitching, I think it's Jonah Hill's character's pitching the other guy on like why they should go into the business of like working with the government and selling arms, right? It doesn't really matter what it was, right? But the one guy goes, wait a minute, you think two guys are going to compete with these huge companies for trillions of dollars in this industry that like, he's like, I don't know anything about. And then Jonah Hill's response is like, dude, do you know how big that pie is? That pie is so big, like we don't need the whole pie. We don't need half of it. We don't even need a slice. We need like a crumb. And he's like, if we can get a crumb, we can build a business. And I saw that right when I was starting around in this industry, give or take. And I just remember, I'm like, that is the same thing as our industry, right? Like it's roughly $800 billion to $1 trillion a year gets spent moving things around the country. And a one-person brokerage has every bit of the same advantages as a big one in some cases. And sometimes in some cases even more, right? And it's like whether the market's going up or down, if you put the activity in, and more importantly, put it in consistently, I've genuinely never come across anybody that hasn't found success in the industry if they do the things that we all three of us talk about for years in that class and on our shows.
We had a guy, Ben, you and I, that we had talked with years ago when he was debating first starting off. And we did some coaching and mentorship with him over the years. And eventually kind of, he'll check in from time to time, but he went from absolutely no experience to building a $20 million a year brokerage just from knowing the people, right? Knowing the people that he could ask the questions to and putting in the activity. Like that was it. So I think that, that's kind of like the two parts that you need is, anybody that's, not afraid to pick up the phone can put the activity in, but if they don't know what they don't know and they don't have someone to ask questions or bounce ideas off of, they're just kind of going into it blind. So I think that's where I love the concept of coaching and consulting, whether it's through like TIA or if it's a one-on-one. Even to this day, like Ben, you and I, like we have people that we go to for, outside perspective and advice. We obviously have each other, which is great, but still like there's people that I go to all the time and I'm like, hey, he's been doing this longer than me. I'm going to ask him this question because I don't know everything. Right. And he doesn't either, but he knows more than I do. So.
I think you'd be a fool to not network with people that are further along down the road. Like one of my best friends out there. I mean, he's Chris Brewer. He's founder of River City Logistics. Like I talk to him a lot because like his company, he's built it, right? Like he's been there. And I always want to find out like, hey man, what can I do better? Like when you were at where I am right now, what would you do differently now looking back? Because it's like that perspective is invaluable. And if that can save you time, and money and mistakes, like, dude, it's just something that I think a lot of people overlook. And, when it comes down to training and development, for example, like I will always focus on the fundamentals because that's all I've ever been able to do. That's like gained results, right? Like I think that people want to sidestep doing the actual work that's required. And, for me, it's like, I think people go too much too soon. and then they burn themselves out too quick. Where for me, it's like, I like repeatable, scalable tasks, right? Like that's why I always talk about just add 5 initiative for cold calling, right? If you've never cold called in your life before, start with just making 20 calls in a day and then build up from there. It's more important that you hit those daily numbers repeatably throughout time than it is to just do 100 in a day and then stop for 3 days and then try and do it again, because you got to show up and put in the work, and it takes a lot longer than you want. But eventually, if you're actually putting in the reps, you're going to get better. You're going to get that feedback. You're going to understand how to navigate through those conversations. You'll never get there by thinking about starting. You just got to go find a number that you can hit every day, no matter what. Because like, I don't want to do shit every single day, but I've been doing this for so long now. I know that me showing up and putting it in no matter what is way better than thinking I need to take a day to reset. That's way more detrimental to my long-term progress than just fighting through. And you know what? You might not hit 50 calls that day, but you got 20 in, right? That's better than nothing. And I think most people have that all or nothing mentality. And sometimes, man, just that effort, that's all that matters to keep you going, to reset. And then that next day, you're going to come out, guns blazing.
Yeah, one of the things that we, like Ben and I personally have always leaned in on when it comes to the cold calling early on is like those first, I'll just say like the first 500 or 1,000 calls you make, right? Like it's not about you trying to land a customer in those calls as much as it's about you being able to figure out the best way for you to make those calls, right? You find your voice, you kind of get a feel for what you're most comfortable with as far as opening and like the questions to ask. And you start to hear the common objections, and you start to realize who's on the other line of who's the one picking up the phone when I make these calls. So it's really about putting, like you said, if you do only 20 calls, that's 20 more reps you've got in that skill set versus if you do absolutely zero, right? You get people that they'll spend months like, yeah, I just got to find the best leads and then I'll make the calls. And it's like, you can find the greatest leads in the world, but you make that first cold call, like you're going to suck at it because you have no idea, no experience, right? You just got to put those reps in, and over time you will eventually get very comfortable. It's like, people that do that podcast, right? The first time you ever do a podcast, you probably are super nervous and like you have no idea. You go through and you do it like Chris, you do it like every single day, right? It's second nature to you now. The same concept applies with cold calling shippers. It's that simple.
Well, and it's funny, right? Because I think everything both of you just said, I agree with, right? And the thing I also want to add, and you both alluded to this, right? But like, I think is almost as, if not more important, is when you do it every day, right? You build the habit and it doesn't seem like work, right? And it's funny because in the Tim Ferriss episode this week, he was using this to talk about exercise. And he goes, people always go, I don't have enough time to start, or I got to find the perfect routine. And he used an example. I forget who the person was, but he's like, can you do 1 push-up before you go to bed? And the guy's basically like, well, yeah, I can do that. He's like, just start there. Just do 1 a day. Don't even think about doing more at any point in time. Just do 1 before you go to bed. He's like, that guy 6 months later was doing 50 push-ups before he went to sleep, and then also started like running in the morning, right? The thing you've got to do is, if you eliminate the emotional stress of, I'm so worried, I don't want to do this, I'll do it tomorrow. Just to your point, Chris, like I'll even say this sometimes where I'm like, if you haven't made any, make 1 today. Just make 1. If you can make 1, do that for a week. And then next week, see if you can make 2. Just set the bar low enough that you absolutely are tripping over it, but you're getting into the routine and getting used to doing that every day. And honestly, most people will just start naturally, oh, that wasn't that bad, I'll just do another one. Oh, that wasn't that bad, I'll just do another one. Because even for me, and I've made countless cold calls over my life, like when there were periods where I did it every day for years and then didn't do it for a few months because I was either doing coaching or whatever, when I went back to go get it, I'm like, I could feel it being like emotionally difficult to get back into it. I'm like, I literally talk to people every day on what to say, how to say, and what they're doing. But when I went to go do it again, I'm like, oh, this muscle's atrophied. Like, I'm just not used to it. It's like starting to run after you haven't run for a few months because you were just doing some other thing, right? It's way harder to stop and start than to just keep moving gradually towards that.
It's a perishable skill. And I think that's what a lot of people overlook, right? And I think like, the longer you do something, the more you think like, oh, I can just pick this back up whenever I want. And, for me, it's like, I think that also when you're going out there on your own for the first time, and, Nate, you've been on the, and Ben, even you've been an agent before, you've been on that side. I think a lot of people have a hard time accepting that the book of business they have at their original employer, they didn't actually build. It was through attrition they attained it. Yes. And they're working with it. And they might be an account manager, right? And again, not here to knock anybody. Account managers are extremely valuable, but it's a different mentality when you have to go out there and hunt for your dinner. And I think that that's one of those things that, again, that's why I'm always about, you got to start somewhere, right? And it's one of those things like, you know, Nate, you brought up the podcast here. Like, we've done over 1,300 episodes. I leave them all up there because I want people to hear episode number 1. I want them to hear how shitty it sounds. Well, some people might think I still sound shitty, but that's irrelevant. But like how bad it sounds compared to like where it is now, right? It's a system. And then, you know, one thing people bring up to me quite often is I don't see how you do this every single day. I don't see how you don't do this every single day. The hard work done.
Correct.
I have the system. I have the process. I have everything in. Like, I have all of December booked out. We're already booking into January at this point, right? Like, when you have that ability and that skill set through time, again, this didn't happen year 1, year 2, or year 3. This was like a year 4 thing where we actually started to build up that momentum. And then now it's like, dude, it's like second nature now. It's not work. Just like cold calling for my brokerage. It's not work to me. Like, I would be lying if I didn't say I felt that little tinge of anxiety from time to time, because you just never know who's going to pick up the phone. But I love the thrill of that.
Yeah. And it's funny. Hold on. I want to add one thing too, because Nate and I talked about this. And when people will ask me, like, how much time do you put into prepping for a show? I'm like, 30 seconds sometimes. I'm like, Nate and I will literally text each other. Like, what do you want to talk about? We'll start. And he's like, oh, this thought comes to mind. And then you can just do it. And it's like,
we actually, our episode yesterday was about training and development for new people.
Right.
Like
and it's funny is, to your point, Chris, like when he's traveling or we don't do it together for whatever reason, because like of what's just going on, like I miss doing it. I'm like, I'll text Nate and I'm like, oh dude, I'm like, can't wait for you to be back on the show again. Cause I'm like, it's not even work. Like it just becomes part of what you do and you look forward to it. And when you have the excitement, like when you're cold calling, to bring the analogy back, like that little bit of fear is what makes it interesting. Like if it wasn't there, it would just be digging a proverbial hole all day, right? You're just shoveling in and shoveling it out, right?
Yeah, I look at it, you know, and again, I you know, in today's environment, I also look at like when there's so much competition that's out there, because it is, right? No matter what, like you look at it is yeah, there's 25,000 brokers. I'm just pulling a number out of thin air, but I think it's like 25,000 brokers that are out there. But now you have independent agents that are out there as well. So it's like, how many independent agents are out there on top of the W-2 employees for these companies? Then, you know, again, so it's like, there's a lot of competition, and that's just on the brokerage side. That's not talking about the trucking side of things. And I look at it is like when you're in a saturated industry, and every industry is saturated. I don't care what anybody, freight's not fucking unique, where we're the most over, every industry has it. How are you going to stand out in a crowd? Right. And I found, and this is somebody who sold pre-COVID and post-COVID now, the best way to stand out for me, and this is just what we built our business on, is having the exact same conversations, calling the exact same prospects, and building up that niche. Like, I don't say this that we can't do drive-in and refrigerated. I could. I've done it extensively. I don't want to, like, because I've found that one-trick pony approach has been the most effective way for me to build my business. This isn't theory. This is what I've done to actually build my brokerage over the last 36 months. And if you're out there on social media and paying attention, it's the worst freight market of all time. There's no opportunities. Nobody's that's all bullshit. People are adding you if you know how to actually hold a conversation and you have a reason for calling them. And I think you have a lot of sales managers now who haven't called in a while, but like they're training people to do a job that, yeah, they're right. That's how it used to be, but that's just not how it is today, where you can just call somebody, hey, we're a broker. We can save you some money. We can do everything. That used to work, but it doesn't anymore. So you got to shift. You got to train your people up. You got to get them up with the times.
Yeah. I had a guy that started working with us last Friday. I put him through training on Monday. He had worked previously. He waited out a non-compete. So he was out of the game for like a year, right? Sideline. got him revamped up on Monday. His first load delivered this week, like today.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
he just put in the calls and this does work. Like obviously, he had the background and the experience, but he knew this is what worked before and it's going to work again now. So he got right into it, made the calls, and boom, got his first customer set up, got the first load posted and booked, and boom, delivered. Like this is not, like you said, it's not theory. This is like the actual real world here. So
I think what you see more times than not, you guys, and I'd love to get your take on it, is I think it's just a lot of people who aren't actually doing the work, and they've formulated a reason why they can't, and I know I did that for the majority of my life, right? Like I had a bunch of fucking excuses out there, like, oh, it's not going to work. It's this and that. It's everything under the sun. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you just think it just boils down to two camps of people? It's the one who are actually doing it and the ones who are just not, and they're refusing, and they have every excuse in the world.
Yeah, I think there's like a spectrum, right? Because there's the people that are just afraid to pick up the phone. Like Ben and I got a solicitation email this morning from a broker. Like it was so badly written, and I just forwarded it to him. I was like, I just can't believe people actually think this stuff works. Like,
Yeah.
So I think there's the people like that just refuse to pick up the phone and make the phone calls, versus the people that will do it, right? But then I think there's a spectrum of like just the skill of having like an interpersonal tact, like being able to hold a conversation. Because they're like, I've had people that I've worked with that are just super socially awkward, and they're like one or two only customers are just other socially awkward shipping managers, right? Like,
Yeah.
Whereas like if you're super talkative and very just, open and we'll have a conversation with anybody, you have that kind of that chameleon personality. I think they have a better shot at building a book of business easier than someone who, doesn't have those strong points in just being able to communicate effectively and with anybody. I think there's definitely a spectrum of those people that are trying, but yeah, there is the other camp of like, they're for whatever reason, they just won't pick up the phone and make the calls.
I think it's human nature too, Chris. I think both of what you said is true. And I think it doesn't stay that way for everybody forever. Some people grow out of it. Some people grow out of it and go back into it, and they're stressed and they want to blame everything. I think human nature is your ego trying to protect itself when things aren't going well. And it does that by going, well, it's not your fault. It's the market. It's not your fault. You don't have the right tech. It's not your fault. You don't have the right this. You don't have this. It's their fault. It's the market. It's the economy. It's whatever, right? But at the end of the day, right, if you can direct that energy and fear and use it to push you forward to make the next phone call, all that stuff becomes an advantage. And it just hinges on, are you going to blame anyone else, or are you going to take responsibility? Because every time you blame something else, it makes you feel better right now, but you also lose the ability to change it. Because if it actually is the economy and I'm right, I can't do anything about it anyway. So then what do I do, right? So even at the very least, if it is my fault, I have the ability to change what I'm doing to see if I can improve on it, right?
The other thing I'll add to that too, because Chris, you brought this up earlier, like there's 25,000 licensed brokerages, and then you add in like how many employees or agents are within there. Like it's a big pool of internal competition, if you want to call it that. Ben and I have always said, like, dude, you just have to be like slightly better than like above the average, right? To be that difference maker, right? And that could come down to just making more calls than the average broker, right? Or, it's that simple. All you gotta do is be just 1% above average, and you already got half the competition in your rearview mirror.
It reminds me of like the story of the guy in the woods. There's three guys running from a bear, and they're running as fast as they can. And the one guy realizes, I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun the other two guys next to me, right? Like you don't got to be better than everything. You just got to be a little better than your competition.
No, I agree with that. And I don't think it's, Nate, to your point earlier about you guys got a solicitation email. Like I get them too, right? Like people are like, it's so easy to win out there, you guys, because people are looking for it's just copy and paste. They're trying to send it out. They're trying to automate it all. And to me, it's like, you can just your ability to have a basic conversation with somebody is going to be the greatest skill set over the next 5 years. As AI automation becomes, your ability to actually communicate with somebody in person, the phone, everything else will be the greatest separator. And I think that, again, as much as people are pushing that, you almost got to revert back to those Stone Age ways of doing things. because it's all about reading the room, right? Like when I'm interviewing somebody on this show, for example, it's my job to get them talking. But like the adverse skill set to that is when I'm cold calling somebody, I have to be able to read that person. If they don't want to talk, I don't want to push it, because I will do way more damage than ending the call. And then that's the way that I approach it. So again, but again, you'll never know that unless you're doing the reps. And that's why it's like, again, you just got to do it, right? And here's one thing I will say. And again, this just comes from somebody who actually cold calls every single day. People are way more friendly than you think. Like they're cordial. They're not going to be your best friend, but they're cordial, right? Like those horror stories that you hear are in the minority of the outreach that you will actually put in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with everything you said more, right? At the end of the day, like you can't learn that stuff through reading a book. It's the difference between knowledge and wisdom. You can read about this all day long, but you're not going to get better at it unless you do the thing, which is wisdom through experience. And you don't do that unless you're putting the calls in, right? Understanding, building the intuition on where to judge someone, how they feel, where to talk, where to ask questions, and where to go.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead, Nate.
I want to hit on the AI thing really quick here too. Like you mentioned, like people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. And I don't know about you guys, but every time I've talked to ChatGPT, I don't feel like I know, like, and trust ChatGPT. Like I know how to use it to get certain answers, but like I had a guy that came to me and he's like, hey, I'm trying to grow from this level to this level. What do you think I should do? I found this, I can pay this company and they're going to do all this AI stuff for me to get me all these warm conversations. And I was like, hell no. I was like, I don't want my name and reputation affiliated whatsoever with a startup AI voice company, because then like they might tarnish your relationship with a potentially great shipper down the road. So yeah, I 100% back up your opinion on that, with your ability to have a conversation is going to be your best separator in the next 5 years. That's huge.
No, I appreciate it, guys. And, I appreciate your time. This flew by as I knew it. I'm not going to let it go this long now before you guys are on the show next. I got to get you guys back on sooner because, I know you guys are as passionate about training and development as I am. And it's, it's one of those things that's always good having you guys back on. How does anybody reach out to you guys, though, to find out more about what you guys got going on?
Freight360.net. That's our website. You can email us. There's a contact form right in there, and we're all over YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever. Just look us up. We should find us.
Ben, Nate, thank you so much. If you guys can't find them out there at all, hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in contact with them. I highly recommend you guys check out their podcast as well. You guys, they put out a lot of great content. And again, they're actually in the industry doing the job that they're talking about, right? There's no theory with any of their stuff. But that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang. Window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the back. Hey, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when the lane